Okay, C4, periodic table and bonding quiz, suitable for higher and foundation. Okay, question 1. Describe the structure of the atom. Really straightforward. Describe the structure of the atom, and I'm looking for 3 points, please. Okay, the answers. Well, you've got protons and neutrons in the nucleus in the centre, and then you've got electrons in shells around the outside. So 1 for your protons, 1 for your neutrons, and then 1 mark for the electrons being in the shells. Okay, question number 2. What is the mass number of an element? That's the large number on the periodic table. What is the mass number of an element? And the answer is the number of protons plus the neutrons, number of neutrons added together. So it's the total number of protons plus neutrons. Question 3. What is the atomic number of an element? That's the small number. What is the atomic number of an element? And your answer, it's the number of protons. It actually is also the number of electrons in a neutral atom, but the answer we're looking for is the number of protons. Question 4. What is an isotope? Don't mix this up with what is an allotrope. It's a bit different. What is an isotope? And the answer, it's an atom with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. So same atomic number but different mass number. Question 5. Name the 4 scientists in chronological order, please, who developed the idea of atomic structure, and just give a brief summary of what their contribution was. So the 4 scientists and then what they came up with. And your answers? Right, we had John Dalton, and he had the idea that atoms were small, tiny balls. We had J.J. Thomson. He had the plum pudding model. He discovered the electron. Okay, so he thought that the atom was sort of a sphere-type object, and that the charge was evenly spread throughout, like currants in a suet pudding or something like that. That's his plum pudding model. Rutherford discovered the nucleus, and he came up with the nuclear model. Okay, so he discovered that the nucleus was positive and at the centre of the atom. And then finally, Niels Bohr discovered that the electrons were in shells orbiting the nucleus. Okay, question 6. What are our rules for occupying the first 4 electron shells? Answer. First shell's got 2, second shell can have up to 8, third shell up to 8, and fourth shell up to 2. Number 7. What is the charge of an electron? And the answer is -1. Number 8. What is the charge of a proton? And the answer is +1. Number 9. What is the charge of a neutron? And the answer, there is no charge on a neutron, it is neutral. Number 10, what is the relative mass of a neutron? So what's the mass of a neutron? And the answer, 1. 11, what is the relative mass of a proton? And the answer is 1. Number 12, what is the relative mass of an electron? Mass of an electron. And the answer is 0.0005. If you're on the AQA spec, then the answer is very small. Okay, so that's where the 2 specs differ slightly. Question 13. On the periodic table, how many groups are there? And the answer is 8. On the periodic table, what are the periods? And the answer, they are the rows. Number 15. What is the name of the block of metals shown in yellow? So there's a diagram of the periodic table on the slide, and there's a region in yellow in the middle. What is the name of that block of metals? The answer is the transition metals. Number 16. What does the period tell us about the atomic structure? So something's in period 3. What does that mean? And the answer is how many shells there are that have electrons in them. They may not be full, but how many shells have some electrons in. Number 17, what is an ion? And the answer is a charged atom, or you could say an atom that has lost or gained electrons. Number 18, what type of ions do metal atoms form? What type of ions do metal atoms form? The answer, positive ions. 19, what type of ions do non-metal atoms form? And the answer is negative ions. And 20, what substances are held together with covalent bonds? So covalent bonding happens between what substances? And they are non-metals. So if you've got two non-metals, they bond together by covalent bonding. Number 21, what type of bonding occurs in metals? And the answer is metallic bonding. 22, when do ionic compounds conduct electricity and when do they not? Okay, so ionic compounds sometimes conduct, sometimes don't. Could you give me the conditions, please? Right, they do not conduct when they are solid, but they do conduct electricity when they are molten, that's melted, or when they are in solution, so if they've been dissolved, okay? So they do conduct electricity when molten or in solution. Question 23. Name the 3 scientists who developed the periodic table. There were others, but these are the 3 that are on your specification. And the answers are Dobereiner, Newlands and Mendeleev. Question 24. What does the group number tell us about the structure of the atom? So if it's in group 2, what does that tell us about the structure of the atom? And the answer is the number of electrons in the outer shell. 25. Name 5 simple covalent molecules. I'd like the molecular formula if possible, please. 5 simple covalent molecules. And the answers are H2, it's hydrogen, CO2, carbon dioxide, H2O, that's water, NH3, that's ammonia, and CH4, that is methane. They are all covalently bonded molecules, simple covalent molecules. 26, what is the charge of a sulphate ion? So sulphate is SO4. What is the charge of a sulphate ion? So for example, the sulphate ion in copper sulphate. The answer is SO4 2-. That's the ion that is formed from sulphate. Okay, 27. What is the charge of a carbonate ion? CO3. From example, calcium carbonate or something like that. The answer is CO3 2-. Question 28. What is the charge of a hydroxide ion? Potassium hydroxide or something like that. What is the charge of a hydroxide ion? The answer is OH-. And 29. What 2 types of substances join together using ionic bonding? So ionic bonding occurs between what 2 types of substance? And the answer is a metal and a non-metal. Okay, that's the end of the quiz. If you've mastered all that, that's great. You're ready to move on to the revision burst for the more details about ionic bonding and then group 1 and group 7. Thank you.